Hello, guys, and welcome to the Business Model Course 1. My name is Jerry Kurtz, and I lead the go-to-market in RevOps here at JFrog. I've been here for a while and have a lot of different varied knowledge, and I'm going to talk to you about how our business model and pricing works. So the agenda today is to take you through first at a high level the JFrog business, how we do sales and different things like that. Talk more about our self-managed solution, which will include the packaging, pricing, and licensing, then go into the cloud differences with the packaging, pricing, licensing, and then talking about how we deal with this on the security side, which are add-ons to our cloud and self-managed DevOps solution. So I'd like to start out by getting everybody to understand how JFrog sales has worked. And this is not to say that it's the way it works today. We do things in multiple different ways today. But in general, JFrog has been a land and expand organization where we have gotten into the organization with a foothold and continue to expand. Now, today we get in at different levels and different sizes, but we continue to try and expand and grow the ARR of that company. So we try and start that journey as high as possible throughout this. Now, when we grow, what we mean by grow is we're looking to take people up in their packages. We're looking to grow in the number of teams in the organization. We're looking to grow in their use cases so that they get more value out of the tool and create more add-ons to sell more to the companies. All these things mean we're creating more attachment with the company and driving more value and more ARR. So it's a win-win for us and the customer. When you think about our business model, as you look at other software out there, you tend to have people more and more moving to the cloud. On the left-hand side here, you see our cloud is mentioned. This is really our top choice for our customers for total cost of ownership and simplicity. They can just turn on the solution, set it up, and they're ready to go. We take care of a lot of the other intricacies. Of course, we need a self-hosted solution. This is more common with the regulated industries and people who want to have full control over their environment. We have no plans to get rid of this self-hosted side. We plan to continue to offer multiple solutions. And then, of course, we have the hybrid, which this gives you the flexibility to have certain pieces in the self-hosted and certain pieces in cloud. What gives our customers the most flexibility here is choosing all of these different items. Most companies out there that we compete against do not have these three different options. So we give the customer the ability to really customize to their needs with our different models. We're going to go a little bit more into the self-managed DevOps portion right now. The self-managed is traditionally, as I said, sold to more regulated industries and people who have hesitancy in adopting the cloud. But more and more we see the move towards the cloud. So I want to talk to you about our different subscriptions. And I say subscriptions here because we sell all of our solutions as year-long term or multi-year term deals. When we say term, we mean at the end of that period, the software turns off. Now, this is different from what we have done in the past. At one point, we sold perpetual licenses. That's been changed over the past year or so. And now all of our licenses are term-based. These subscriptions have different levels. And so if we look at the left-hand side here, we'll start with the Pro. The Pro is really our loss leader. It's a low-price tool that allows us to get into small companies and startups, really small teams and startups, and then grow them to the other solutions. It has our full binary repository. It has no SLA support, so customers have to go to the community to get support. And it has no access to the portal for support either. This means that it is much more complex to get started. When we start moving to the right here, the next one to the right is our Pro X solution. This tends to be used for small teams and startups also. The big difference between the Pro and the Pro X here is that we're adding support. We have 24/7 SLA support with the Pro X. And we're adding the X-Ray Essentials piece of things. The X-Ray Essentials we'll talk more about in the security side adds our basic security to our offering. And as we go up to the right, all of the offerings include everything we talked about before, plus the new items that we're discussing. From there, we have our Enterprise X solution. The Enterprise X solution is really the solution that most companies, medium, large teams, large companies, small companies who are really trying to leverage this for all its capability require. The reason they require this is this has all the enterprise level capabilities that most of these companies need. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the features. But it adds not only the additional enterprise capabilities, but instead of 2 support people, it has 4 support people. The reason we have support people here is because we're generally concentrating on selling to a whole DevOps organization. And those DevOps people the developers go to the DevOps specialists to answer the initial questions, and they put any more complex questions into our system. So it streamlines the whole support process. The biggest reason people go to the Enterprise X solution is the high availability. High availability is the ability to have multiple servers that are on at the same time, that if one goes down, the other still works. The reason this is so important is because in a DevOps scenario, if you're using us as the data source for all your binaries, if this goes down, all of your employees, software engineers, don't have the ability to fully work. This can be very costly. So having that additional server up is really not a choice for most companies, especially when they start using this not just as a storage dump, but as a process for all of their systems. And this is really what we're pushing into. And that's why most companies really should start at the Enterprise X side if they can afford it. We have also in this a multi-push replication. This allows us to sync the repository information across the different solutions. It has S3 object support. And then, as we said before, it has the security basic functionality. Beyond that, the Enterprise X solution comes with 3 servers versus Pro X and Pro coming with 1 server. And the reason it comes with more servers is because the expectation is that they will need 2 for a high availability environment, and 1 is for the test environment. Now, this is also a difference between some other solutions out there because we're selling by server. They don't always charge for the test environment because their business model is based on users or something else. In this case, our business model is based upon servers, so that's built into the cost, and the costs all make sense for that. But that is why we sell 3 at the same time. So support portal access is all about having a certain amount of people who have ability to put in questions to the system. We allow a certain number, 2, 4, or others if they buy more, in order to organize to have their main people answer all the questions and then put the more advanced questions into a system for us to help the customer with. As we move from Enterprise X to Enterprise Plus, we are really targeting companies or multiple groups. As you grow in your complexity, you really need to have a more robust solution like Enterprise Plus. To start off with, Enterprise Plus has not just 3 servers, but it comes with 6 servers. The reason is we tend to see enterprises using this across multiple locations or needing more servers to support all their different users, and Enterprise Plus gives them that robustness. Beyond this, it also comes with additional enterprise capabilities like Insights, which gives them information about how their servers are working, Access, which gives them control over the permissions to keep all the passwords and credentials and SSO synced across all their servers, and then Mission Control, which gives them control over spinning up environments and turning them down. We also add a higher level of support to the Enterprise Plus, which is also a 24/7 SLA, but there's a high-touch support person. This is a person who has every other week meetings with them, make sure their questions are being answered, make sure their process of getting any of the pieces in the tool working is all working according to plan. So it's a lot more beneficial to them. We also include 2 days of training in the Enterprise Plus side. The other major difference in the Enterprise Plus side is some customers need the ability to distribute their binaries. By distribution of the binaries, we're talking about taking the binaries that they're creating and pushing them to where they're going. This could be on a server. This could be a factory to different machines. This could be a store. This could be people's devices that they sell to. What we do with this distribution allow them to effectively control the pushing to the endpoints, which all their endpoints can then tie into. On the pricing side, we've talked about the different versions here. As I said, the JFrog Pro is the loss leader. It starts out at $3,990 per instance or server. This is not aimed for people to buy a lot of servers. It's really aimed for people buying one, maybe two at the most, and then upgrading to the higher end versions. This is, again, the loss leader of the solution. We then move to the Pro X solution, which comes in at $23,500. Again, this is a tool that we expect people to come in at. They get started. They need a little bit more functionality than the Pro. But as they grow and they use the tool correctly, they really should need the more enterprise features like the HA and the SSO and upgrade to the Enterprise X solution. The Enterprise X solution, as I said before, has 3 servers for $43,500. So the price per server is actually lower than the Pro X. So as people need the enterprise level features, this becomes a no-brainer and an easy upgrade path for them. And then we charge for additional server a $15,300. On the Enterprise Plus side, the price comes with 6 servers and moves up to $126,000. And there's $21,000 per additional instance or server. And I guess I'll just mention real quick why I say instance or server is an instance can be like a virtual machine, right? So not of any version or instance of the service running or the software running is what we charge for, whether it be on a virtual machine or a separate server or anything like that. On the self-managed side, I mentioned earlier about the term licensing, but remember, this is essentially for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We are able to go up to 5 years, and we do not go beyond that. All of these solutions scale by the server instances. And so when you're selling to these companies, you're looking at, do they need more capacity, right? Do they need another server because they have too many people hitting this and it's slowed down, or right, it doesn't have enough capability to support their users? Do they have additional data centers, right? Maybe they have different locations. One in like JFrog has Atlanta, one in Sunnyvale, one in Tel Aviv, and maybe they have development in all of them and they need different servers for all of them, right? Talking about their need for HA, this will require at least 2 servers in each location, right? Talking about test servers. So talking about their architecture and understanding how that works, and Solenge can help all of you develop the right architecture for the company to determine how they need to scale. We also have additional support packages, Gold and Platinum, which add more capability. We'll talk more about that in the product section here, but I wanted to mention it. We have unlimited users and repositories. The reason I mention this is because we don't charge by these items, and some of our competitors do. And it's important for you and our customers to understand that. The Enterprise Plus portion has additional scale items. The edge nodes, which are the actual places, as I talked about the distribution, where they're pushing the devices. For example, if we sell to a restaurant, right, maybe a fast food company, and they have an edge node in each location of their fast food, where they push all the binaries for their cash register, the binaries for their signs, the binaries for their inventory system, et cetera. They can do all that and then update it all efficiently. Then we also scale by the number of projects and pipelines. We have quantity discounts for these licenses, which we'll talk more about in more advanced sections. And we have multi-year options. So these are all the different variables which determine the self-hosted license. As I said, in more advanced topics, we'll get into the details. I'm going to jump into the cloud DevOps side. Again, this is where most of our new customers begin their journey. And it's because of the simplicity, and that because most customers have started to move to a cloud-first initiative. And they want to allow companies like us, who are the experts in the solution, to keep the solution up and running. And we guarantee that, as I'll talk more about. So as I go through the packaging here, you'll see that the packaging is very similar to the self-hosted side. One of the main differences is the ProX solution. This does not exist in our cloud solution. And the main reason that doesn't exist is because the way cloud solutions work, not only for JFrog, but other solutions, they start out very low and you scale with usage. And when we had 4 solutions and 4 prices, it was overwhelming to the customers at those lower prices. And so it made more sense to simplify into our 3 solutions. So once again, we start on the left-hand side with our Pro solution. The Pro solution is a loss leader here, and it is at a very low price, as we'll talk about later, but it has the basic same capabilities as we talked about on the DevOps side. The main one difference that it does not have is it does not contain the SSO capabilities that is included in the Pro on the self-hosted side. As we move up to the enterprise side, Enterprise X is again aimed at most companies in general. We believe they need this type of capability because they should be needing the enterprise capabilities that we talked about. The main difference between the DevOps self-hosted side and the cloud side is that we guarantee uptime. Now, on the Pro side, we didn't guarantee any uptime, and that's why I didn't mention it. But on the Enterprise X side, we guarantee 99.9% uptime. And this is essentially equivalent in the cloud to what we talked about the HA. HA is having multiple servers that keep on and prevent you from going down. Well, because we own all the infrastructure, we have to set that up and we have to make sure everything stays up. And so we don't, in cloud, you don't talk about the number of servers, you talk about the uptime guarantee. And so this Enterprise X side gives them that uptime guarantee that most companies will need for an enterprise type solution. It also adds all the other features we talked about earlier, and I'm not going to repeat. As we move to the right, we get to the Enterprise Plus side. The Enterprise Plus side, again, does not come with any servers. It has a uptime guarantee, as we talked about earlier, but with all its features, allows the customer to scale much more easily into the other locations and keep everything in sync with each other. But it is the same feature base as we talked about in the self-hosted side. Let's move into the pricing. On the JFrog Pro side, we have a monthly pricing, which is at $150 per month, which comes with 25 gigabytes, and then they pay for more consumption based on a waterfall pricing model. Basically, the consumption we'll talk more about later, but is an amount per gigabyte that goes down as they buy more. So their first 1,000 gigabytes are at $1.25. When they go above, it goes down to $1. Then it goes down to 75 cents, then 55 for the additional in a waterfall method. This is not available in annual. Again, this is our loss leader, so it was particularly made easy to get onboarding with a credit card on monthly or with our payment by our marketplaces. As we move up, we have our JFrog Enterprise X. This version is available both in monthly and annual. On the monthly side, it starts at $750. It comes with 125 gigabytes of consumption, and then you pay more for a waterfall-based consumption, just as I discussed on the Pro. When you move to the annual side, we have a starting price of $21K. This is a starting price for us to get into the annual deals. We can do this in multiple different ways, but the Enterprise X starts with 1,125 gigabytes of consumption, and then you pay for additional consumption, but you get a discount based on how much you commit to. So in general, above the 1,125 gigabytes of use, the annual will be cheaper than the monthly, and it'll get more and more it'll get even more cheaper as people use more. The reason is we want to drive the monthly users to the annual as they grow. But when they're really small, we let them grow in the monthly side of things. We then also have the option to add additional locations at $9,000 per additional location. There are quantity discounts on the annual, not on the monthly, and we charge overage. On the Enterprise Plus, this is not available on monthly. It is only available on the annual. It costs $150,000 and comes with 10 terabytes of usage. And then there's additional consumption charges, which are charged the same way as the enterprise side of things. And then we have additional servers at $15,000 per additional server. Quantity discounts are also available with overages charged based on what you commit to. A few things I want to mention on the cloud details is what is consumption? Consumption is the highest amount of storage they use per the month, plus their transfer in and out of the system. We add these two together, and that is their consumption. And the customer will commit to the max amount of consumption they expect during the next year, because essentially we're selling them a pipe of usage. And so we want to give them enough to pay through that pipe so they don't go into the overage scenario. We have a 21K minimum for annual. This is really because we want to make our sales force efficient, and it doesn't make sense to sell very small deals. The minimum can be adhered to by the 1,125 in the base level of consumption, or there are other ways by offering them like advanced security or curation, which we can talk more about in more advanced versions of the course. And then there's overage. Overage is charged at a slightly higher rate than is what they committed to. It's charged at 25% more. The reason for this is we want to make sure that it gives the customer a reason to commit to the right amount. Our goal here is to get the customer to commit to the amount they truly need for the next year so they don't hit overage and they don't have to get a new contract. Of course, if they do hit overage, we immediately want to contact the customer and give them the option to sign another one-year agreement to get out of overage and commit to a higher amount and get more discounts. So it is all built into the model to make it simple for the customer to grow with us. From a cloud scaling perspective, we have the consumption. So as a company grows, their storage tends to grow, even when they do cleanup. And then their up and down transfer will grow too. As they use more and they do more with the system, they're going to grow their consumption. We also see cloud scaling by location, as I mentioned earlier. They might have different locations that they need, whether it be one in Europe, one in the US, one in Asia, or what have you. There's also backup. We see more and more companies wanting to have multiple of these. So if one goes down, they have a backup to continue work. And this also in turn gives them a better uptime. And then there's quantity discounts based on consumption and multi-year options, similar as we discussed in the self-managed side. So now we're going to move on to the security side. So JFrog had moved into the security side a while back with entering into the X-ray front, but we've taken a stance of moving even further in and supplying a full supply chain security, which we are the only ones in the industry have the ability to do that for all these organizations. And it should give you a great opportunity to push into the security side for these companies that you sell to. From a security package standpoint, we have, similar to our DevOps side, 4 different packages. On the left-hand side, we have X-ray Essentials. This includes SCA, OS licensing, and SBOM capability, along with a few other things. But those are the basic topics included in X-ray Essentials. We call these Essentials, and we come with most of our packages because we do believe that every company does and should use these, and so we want to make it easy for them. As we move to the right, we have Advanced Security. Advanced Security includes CVE prioritization, which some people call contextual analysis, SAST, secret detection, IAC security, OSS libraries, and service security. The reason these are all packaged together is because what Advanced Security is doing is not only is it reading the binaries, which is what originally X-Ray did to understand what are the problems in the OS licensing or the binary vulnerabilities, but it's reading the code. And so for like CVE prioritization, it understands how it's being used, and is this a priority, or is it you're not using the vulnerability in a way that it's you're going to create the problem, right? SAS, secret detection, all these need to understand the actual code, and so it makes sense to bundle these all together as an advanced security thing to give our customers more features. Then we have curation. Curation is all about giving the customer centralized visibility and control over what comes into their organization. It gives them a way to curate and make sure that these are approved things and prevent issues by allowing the engineer to choose the right binary at the beginning rather than choosing the wrong one. We find out about it and we have to rework it. So it saves a lot of time and money for the organizations. And we will be introducing runtime later this year, which allows us to find security issues in your runtime environment at launch Kubernetes. And we can trace it back to where that issue came from, which is our big differentiation, because now when people find an issue, they have to figure out, well, who do I got to go to? And it becomes very complicated in these big organizations. We can understand that binary came from this repository, which was added by this person, and we can go directly to the person to get them to fix it. Now, all of these, besides X-Ray Essentials, are add-ons. So they can be added on to the different packages as long as you're above Enterprise X. So the Pro and Pro X cannot add any of these add-ons. So now we're going to talk about the security pricing. The security pricing, let's start with JFrog X-Ray Essential. This piece comes with all of the solutions besides the Pro offerings for in cloud and self-hosted. Now, from a pricing standpoint, it scales a little differently on the self-hosted and the cloud side. Let's start talking about the cloud. On the cloud side, you are paying for consumption, as we discussed in the DevOps section. At the same time you're paying for consumption, X-Ray usage in the cloud drives some additional consumption. This consumption gets charged in the exact same way and should be accounted for when working with the customer on projections. On the self-managed side, because there is no consumption and everything scales with servers, it scales with the servers. So as you scale your solution and buy more Artifactory servers, you're receiving more X-Ray servers at the same time. And so it scales in the equivalent manner to your Artifactory servers. As we move to the right, we see JFrog Advanced Security. Now, Advanced Security is similar to Curation, so I'm going to talk about them both high level now. These are add-ons to the Enterprise X and Enterprise Plus solutions. It cannot be added to the Pro or Pro X solutions, as I discussed. There is a base fee involved with both of these, and then there are fees for each contributing user. We'll talk more in the next slide about what a contributing user is. But with the base fees range a little bit depending on which version you're buying. But for Enterprise X, it's in the mid $20,000 range for 50 users, which come standard with the base package. The Enterprise Plus side has a base fee of $70K to $80K. This includes 200 users. You'll notice that this is more users in Advanced Security than the Enterprise X side. This is why it is more expensive. The reason we have 200 users in Enterprise Plus and 50 users in Enterprise X deals with the type of companies that generally use these solutions. An Enterprise X solution tends to be smaller groups or smaller companies, which when they're doing an initial rollout, 50 is the amount of users that we find is pretty typical to start with, and then they scale up from there. In the Enterprise Plus side, their groups and their projects tend to be larger, and 200 users tends to be the starting price. And so we've included the right number of users for the right package in the base. Of course, on both of these, you can scale to any number of users, and you pay a per month, per user fee for each of those users. On the JFrog Curation side, the structure is exactly the same. As you can see on the Enterprise X side, the price is a little bit different. It's in the 30 to 33K for 50 users, and Enterprise Plus is in the 120 to 132K for 200 users. But again, the structure is the same. You're paying a base, which comes with some certain number of users, and Enterprise X always comes with 50 users in either package, and Enterprise Plus always comes with 200. And then both of them scale by your additional users. We will be coming out with JFrog Runtime later this year, and we'll talk more about the pricing at that point. One of the things I wanted to just give a quick rundown on is how we scale with users. This is an item which often customers need to understand in order to properly assess their needs. The advantage of moving to this scaling with users side of things is this is the standard in the industry for security. Pretty much most of the companies do use it, and it allows these companies to understand how much they need just by some simple things, looking at who they're going to be using it with their groups and projects. Contributing users, the real definition behind it is the developers that are using or writing the code that is going to be used by this system. For example, JAS. Let's say you're using JAS. Any of the code that's written that goes into Artifactory that you run any JAS scans upon, all the coders or developers would be considered users. This means it is not the users who have logins to Artifactory. It is not the security users. It is the developers who write the code that goes into the modules of our solution. It's a very important understanding, and important one for the customers to understand. This also means that it's easier to estimate what's going on with the users, because you can talk to the users about, are they first of all, the first question is, are you planning to fully roll out to all your users? If that's the case, then it's just equal to the number of software engineers they have working on code. If they aren't rolling out initially to all their users in the first year, you want to talk to them about what projects or groups they're going to roll out to, and then understand the number of engineers, software engineers, developers in those groups, plus potentially any growth plans that they have over the year. And this becomes an easy way because most companies project out and have budgets for their software engineering teams. Hopefully this has given you a good overview of the pricing of the DevOps solutions and DevSecOps solutions that we have in JFrog. Please continue on to the other courses to learn more about the details of these pricing and packaging areas. Thanks a lot.